Ethics of social research has changed a lot over the last few decades. We have seen a rise of institutional review boards, of an institutionalized, standard-based model of ethics approval procedures all over the world. We have seen a rise in the expectations towards social scientists regarding what they cannot and what they can do when approaching human subjects. This is, on the whole, a very positive development. When we look at the history of social science, when we look at the things that scientists allowed themselves and were allowed to do to the subjects in the course of their studies, in the 60s, in the 70s, in the 80s, then we think, well, it's good that we have more awareness, more self-consciousness now, more self-restraint also in what we are doing. This is good for the protection of our subjects. This is good for the moral quality of what we are doing. In the process of raising the ethical awareness, of globalizing certain modes of thinking about ethical standards in social research, more and more red lines are being drawn. The lines not to be crossed, the lines behind which unethical processes begin. Hence, a question arises: who should be drawing these lines? Should the governments be doing that? Should it be state agencies? Should it be funding agencies, which is frequently, though not always, the same thing? Should it be the scientific community with its internal stratifications, inequalities, hierarchies, and competitions? Should it be money? Should it be influence? Who and what should be the decisive factor in drawing the red lines of research ethics? Abortion Figurations is a project on human rights and abortion laws. We are going to places where emotions run high. We are visiting sites of intense social conflict, of hectic debate. It is a sensitive subject and it calls for self-awareness, self-restraint, and observance of the red lines, but it also calls for a reflection on where these lines come from. In watching the red lines, we frequently find ourselves in our social studies bound by red tapes which do not allow us to go as far as we want to conceptualize our work as we like to approach our subjects the way we find best. And it is the nature of ethics. Ethics is there to limit us, to set boundaries to what we are doing. But it is clearly a necessary matter to consider where these boundaries should be and how far they can be pushed. The balance between red lines and red tapes in ethics of social research calls for reflection, consideration, and collective, intercultural, equal debate. That is why, on the 30th of November this year at the University of Warsaw, as a part of Abortion Figurations project, we will begin an effort to discuss this with our colleagues from 4 continents, coming from very different areas of study: family studies, pandemics research, criminal and conflict zones research, transsexual and gender issues, and of course, abortion laws. We will be looking at institutional setups, geographical differences, differences in standards and approaches that are disciplinary, cultural, and political, and we will try to work towards more understanding of how many red lines we need and how many red tapes we might possibly get rid of.